What's your take on this whole inflation thing?
Well, there's a couple different scams that Biden is pulling at the same time to try to, I mean, he really did come out and say 0% inflation. We had no inflation last month.
He said that.
I mean, it's incredible that you'd even try this, right?
Yeah.
The opinion of his own voters it's got to be so low. He must think they're the dumbest people in the world, and he may be right on that. But so you have a couple different scams. One is this number we've been talking about for a while. 9.1% inflation was the latest number, and it was updated the other day to 8.5%. That is the annual number. The annual headline CPI is called. Now, that's what everyone talks about. Everyone in the media talks about it. That's the number we've all been discussing all of this time. So what Biden does is he comes out and does a press conference, and there's some people saying that he's lying, and it's not exactly lying. It's mostly lying, but it's not exactly lying. It's completely disingenuous. But what he's doing is instead of taking the annual number, he's taking the monthly number, so month-to-month inflation. And instead of taking the headline CPI, he's taking the core CPI. The core CPI is basically a number, the inflation minus the stuff you were just talking about, minus food, minus energy, things that really hit people. There's a reason to look at the core CPI if you are an economist, if you're an academic. There's some interesting parts of that, but it's not how inflation hits people at all. So they feel the food. They feel the energy, maybe more than anything else. They feel things like rent and housing and all of that, but that stuff hits you really hard because you're at the grocery store, you're at the gas pump every week. Mm-hmm. So he goes with the core CPI, which was lower. It was 5.9% instead of the 8.5. Sounds a little bit better. But then you take the month-to-month instead of the year-to-year. So the month-to-month number is always small. In the past decade plus, it has never been above 1%, ever. Even through all of this inflation, it's never been above 1% one time. It was supposed to be 0.2%, and instead it was 0.0% for that particular month. But no one cares about that. Right. He knows no one cares about it. He knows no one's thinking about that. The important thing to look at, of course, is how this is affecting people over time. And the way that to show how this works is if you had something that you bought for $100, this is back in July 2020. In July 2021, that same exact thing would be $105.40. Mm-hmm. What this report says is that this time in July 2022, it would be $114.36. That's their definition of zero inflation. Right. Something that before he got into office cost $100, now costs $114 plus. That's a massive change for an everyday family. And they do this because they know, they're trying to just fool people into spinning their way out of these problems. But as you note, when you're going to a grocery store, and your grocery bill is 15, 20, 30, 40% higher, you can't spin your way out of that. Right. There is no amount of Corinne Jean-Pierre that solves that problem for you. Not even Jen Psaki could pull that one off. And so they're trying to get people to understand that 0.0% is no big problem at all, when in reality, they know it is. And a big part of this problem is, and I've been complaining about this for weeks on my show, because I'm so annoyed at this particular part of it, is that when you have a huge amount of inflation, the prices go up and they measure year to year. So when these new prices come out, eventually that headline number is going to come down a little bit. It went from 9.1 to 8.5 this time. The reason that happens is because we now are pricing that as an increase over an already inflated number. So you are now getting a situation where these are going to start compounding on top of each other. Each increase, you might say 8.5 is less than 9.1, and of course that's true, but it's 8.5% of a bigger number, which makes it worse on everybody. Yeah. And so this stuff will continue to hit us, even though that number will start to come down. And the worst part about this is we are going to have to sit through months of them bragging about your wallet being sexually assaulted. Yeah. And it's going to be really frustrating to deal with.
And heavily, like with zero lube. Yeah.